Welcome back. Student loan debt is at an all-time high of $1.7 trillion this year, increasing U.S. student debt by more than 100% over the past 10 years. Joining us out to discuss this and more is Jonathan Ortiz, Financial Advisor. Welcome, Jonathan. Always nice seeing you.
Likewise, Sonyi. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Claro. So let's get right into it with learning about your work in the community. Jonathan, how do you seek to help people through financial literacy, and what got you into this field?
Born and raised in the South Bronx, I've dedicated my life to improving the financial health of New Yorkers. My hope is to be a blessing to everyone with whom I cross paths with. Financial empowerment is a big deal to me. Family and community empowerment are even bigger. New York City schools lack it. Our parents don't understand it. And because of it, the future of New Yorkers and millions of other Americans is uncertain.
I know that's something that you advocate for is financial literacy in public schools. And I think that's an incredible initiative to have, something that I wish I had more knowledge of growing up. It's something that I've been, learning in my adult life. So, thank you for that and for advocating for that. And I hope that that's a reality.
Absolutely. I think when you're thinking about improving the community, when you're trying to change the Bronx, when you're trying to change the different pockets of poverty in our country, you have to attack them from the very beginning. And I think that starts in public schools.
Absolutely. So, Jonathan, right into it. The numbers are startling. According to an analysis of May 2021 census data, 1 in 8 Americans, or 12.9% of the Americans, have student loan debt. How did we get here?
Absolutely. Well, it starts with financial literacy. It starts with the lack of knowing what you're getting yourself into. It continues into political questions that are still unanswered. Why are people allowed to overborrow for schools? The same way that why are universities allowed to charge prices that are way over inflation? And these times, for someone to pay, $40,000-$50,000 a year for education, and then for you to go to another university and pay a fraction of that, you need to really see what is it that you're being taught. What's the difference in networks that you're trying to be a part of. So yeah, I think it's a matter of that. It's a matter of over borrowing, people that are taking up a little bit more than they should, and also the fact that the federal government doesn't really cap as to how much money someone could borrow.
And Jonathan, have you been affected personally by student loan debt? Can you share?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of us are building from zero. We have no inheritance. We have no help. We have no connections. We just have hard work and hopes of real success. That's who we are. We're working hard, and to go to school, even if you have a program like HEOP or SEEK or EOP, depending on what level you are in school, it's an issue. It's you still might have to borrow if you go to a private university, right? So yes, I did have to borrow, but it's not just my personal situation that I've had with student loans, but it's the thousands of clients for whom I have data that say, hey, I am with you. I am having the same issue that you have had. And I want to fight for those people and hoping that we could correct this at some point.
Like so many systemic inequities that already affect people of color, and particularly, Bronx youth. I know that student loan debt disproportionately affects kids here, youth here trying to pursue a higher education to get, great careers as they're motivated to do in public school. No. What have you learned from working in the community about the impact of this huge issue on people of color and Bronxites in particular?
Our teachers love us. They have always loved us. I know that every single teacher I've had wanted us to go to school, get our education. Some of them wanted us to get out of the Bronx because back in those days, talking about 15, 20 years ago, and even now with everything that's happening, a lot of them are probably saying, hey, study and get out of here. I'm a believer in, getting your education, then coming back to your community and fixing it. But I think the biggest issue is that they did not correct us. They empowered us. Hey, they encouraged you to go to school, go to college, go get that degree, do well, do excellent. But they didn't tell us about student loan debt. They didn't tell us that we needed, to do well, to do finance, that there's something called student loans, and whether they're federal or they're private, that they're going to take away from your net worth if you're not able to pay them, with the income you're making when you come out of college.
Absolutely. And another thing, Jonathan, since March 2020, the student loan repayment pause enacted by the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act provided temporary relief by suspending all loan payments. I know that a lot of students and people that are overwhelmed with student debt were really relieved to have this, a little pause in the moment, but it's now set to expire at the end of September. What will this mean for those in debt?
Well, it means a lot of different things. I mean, for one, I don't believe it will expire then. I think that the economy, regardless of what the stock market says, it is not as robust as it seems, especially with the uncertainty of the Delta variant. And right now, local governments just a few moments ago, the CDC said that we might have to start masking up again, even whether you are vaccinated or not, indoors. And I really believe that President Biden will extend it or set in motion an ambitious plan to eliminate, reduce, the federal student loan debt. I mean, Senator Schumer is asking for it. Senator Warren from Massachusetts is asking for it, and Jonathan Ortiz from here in the Bronx is also asking for it. We need to do something about it. We need to eliminate it, reduce it, and for once, have a solution to this monster.
Right. So another thing is Biden has canceled $3 billion in student loan debt so far. Is this a good sign? And could broad student loan forgiveness stem from this next?
That is my hope. That is the hope of many Americans who are in the know. For every financial counselor, for anyone that's in the business of improving the financial health of Americans, the hope is that he will do something. I don't think it's not about giving someone something for free. A lot of people are like, oh well, why should I use my taxpayer money to? This is a problem that just like the housing market in 2008, it's definitely the next big thing, and if we don't answer it, this is definitely the the next epidemic in the United States after the pandemic. Even if the pandemic passes, tomorrow, let's say, this America when it's over, student loans are that epidemic that unless we come up with a solution, it's not going to be fixed. So I'm really hoping that they do fix it and that they come up with something fast.
Right. Jonathan, as a financial advisor for a long time here in the Bronx, I know you've heard plenty of testimonies with students that have been affected by student loan debt. Can you share at least one or two testimonials with us?
Oh yeah, absolutely. People have lost their homes, because they haven't been able to pay off their student loan debt. I've had clients that didn't even have their bachelor's degrees, and the government still lend them money. I mean, when you have a problem in the Bronx where there's lack of housing, and the housing you do find is super expensive, right? Super, super expensive. You tell me, how are people making ends meet? I know plenty of students that are, that have overborrowed, and I've asked them, why are you doing this? Your college, your education was only like $20,000 over 4 years. Why did you put yourself in these shoes? And it was the need. It was the need and the opportunity for them to be able to borrow some money to pay off their rent. So again, it's social economical issues that are affecting us. They're affecting the South Bronx, and I'm really hoping, again, it's not just about student loan debt, but it's housing. It's about having the basic necessities, right? The average student that went to school did it with the hopes of having a good paying job to be able to afford everyday necessities. It wasn't for the government to give them hand me downs, or give me no. It was for them to be able to build their opportunities, right? That's why many immigrants, we're told to go to school. We're told. I'm Puerto Rican, by the way. Yeah, I got to mention that. And my parents came here from Puerto Rico, and they said, Jonathan, you don't have to. Tú no tienes que trabajar en una finca. You don't have to work in a farm. We did it already. Your ancestors did it already. You're gonna go to school. You're gonna get your education. You're going to be the family, the guy who gets us out. And a lot of us are still under that thought process, and we want to help our families. We don't want to live in housing. We don't want to, be asking for help. But the situation at hand is that we did the right things, but we're paying for them as if we did them wrong.
That is so true. And I'm glad that you made that connection, Jonathan, about, it's not just about student loan debt. It's also about housing. It's also about, what the future for our kids is. How much prosperity do we have moving forward in the future? Like how many youth that are in student loan, I mean, in debt right now can even afford to raise a family at this rate? It's very slim, the chances, no?
Absolutely. I mean, many kids, many students, I call them kids. I guess I'm a little bit older now, but many students, you graduate and the hope is that you're going to be able to be self-sufficient, pay your own rent, build a family. But in the Bronx, and the same thing with many pockets in our country, we're not able to do it. Right now, we're overpriced. We're overpriced. If you wanted to buy a house, houses are going for 800, 900. And on top of that, if you don't pay off your student loans, it messes up your credit. It damages your credit score, and it hinders you from having a borrowing ability. So these are the types of things that credit hinders. Forgive me, not credit, student loans hinders, and not having affordable housing ownership. I think it's about time we have the opportunity to buy instead of being able to rent. We need our future to buy. Not only that, I also like linking financial health with mental health and physical health, and having the opportunity to have an environment that's it's sustainable, and all these different things. Again, it comes full circle, and we need to at least start fixing them.
Yeah. Speaking of all those nuggets that you just dropped, you have a Financial Lit podcast here at BronxNet. How can we tune in? How can we learn more? Tell us more about this podcast.
Absolutely. The Financial Lit podcast is produced by BronxNet. You could tune in by tuning into Spotify or the Apple podcast world, and you can listen in. I've been blessed. I've been able to interview great people like Eric Adams, the Democratic nominee for mayor. Sean Donovan, and amongst others. And the show is growing, and we're interviewing more people. And if you want to be on it, just email me.
Wonderful. How can we also keep in touch with you, Jonathan, before we go?
Absolutely. Twitter, Instagram, Ortiz for New York. Simple as that.
Perfect. Always nice seeing you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for dropping by and talking more about this subject.
Thank you for having me, Sonyi.
Alrighty. Well, that's all for our show today. I'm your host, Sonyi Lopez, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.